Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and before you click away, let me ask you something that might just change your day. What if I told you that a simple dime, something you probably have rolling around in your car cup holder or buried at the bottom of your junk drawer, could be worth $9 million? That's right, not 900, not 9,000, but 9 million. And the craziest part is that this coin looks almost identical to every other dime you've ever held. So ordinary that you could easily spend it on a candy bar without ever realizing you just gave away a fortune that could have set you and your family up for life. Now I know what you're thinking, how is that even possible? How does a coin that was minted by the millions suddenly become worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime? And that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. But here's the thing, this 2002 D dime isn't the only treasure hiding in plain sight. Because after I reveal everything about this particular coin, we're going to talk about another dime, one from 2016 that has collectors losing their minds and offering prices that would make your head spin. And trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the very end because the story behind that one is absolutely insane. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. The 2002 D1 dime, minted at the Denver Mint as indicated by that little D mark, has recently shocked the numismatic world when one specific example sold at auction for a record-breaking $9 million. And yes, you heard that correctly, $9 million for a coin with a face value of just 10 cents. So what makes this particular dime so incredibly valuable? And more importantly, how can you tell if you have one sitting in your pocket right now? Well, buckle up because the story behind this coin is absolutely fascinating, and it all comes down to one tiny, almost invisible error that occurred during the minting process back in 2002. You see, the United States Mint produced hundreds of millions of dimes that year, business as usual, coins rolling off the presses at lightning speed to meet the demands of commerce across the nation. But somewhere in that massive production run, something went terribly wrong. Or depending on how you look at it, something went magnificently right for the handful of people who would eventually discover these error coins. The 2002 D dime that's worth millions isn't just any regular dime. It's what collectors call a major die error variety. And the specific error we're talking about here is so rare, so unusual, that even veteran coin collectors with decades of experience have never actually held one in their hands. The error involves what's known as a missing clad layer, combined with a dramatic off-center strike, which means that during production, the outer layer of metal that normally covers the copper core of the dime was either completely absent or severely compromised. And then, as if that wasn't unusual enough, the coin was struck off-center, meaning the dies that stamped the design onto the blank coin weren't properly aligned, resulting in a coin that shows only a partial design with a distinctive blank crescent on one side. Now, you might be wondering why such an error would make it past quality control at the Mint, and that's a great question. The truth is that Mint employees are supposed to catch these kinds of mistakes. There are multiple checkpoints and inspection stages designed to prevent error coins from ever reaching circulation, but every once in a while, just like in any manufacturing process, something slips through the cracks. Maybe it was a busy day, maybe an inspector was distracted, maybe the error was so subtle that it wasn't immediately obvious, or maybe, just maybe, the coin gods decided that a few lucky collectors out there deserve to win the lottery. What makes this particular 2002 D dime even more incredible is the perfect storm of circumstances that had to align for it to reach its current valuation. First, you have the rarity factor. We're talking about possibly only 3 to 5 known examples in existence. Compare that to the billions of regular dimes out there and you start to understand just how needle in a haystack rare this coin truly is. Then you have the condition factor because the $9 million specimen was found in absolutely pristine, uncirculated condition, meaning it was never used in commerce, never jingled around in someone's pocket, never got scratched or worn down. It was essentially perfect. And in the coin collecting world, condition is everything. A coin in mint state condition can be worth 10, 20, even 100 times more than the same coin in worn condition. The story of how this particular dime was discovered reads like a thriller novel. According to reports from the auction house that handled the sale, The coin was found by an elderly woman who had been saving coins in mason jars for over 40 years. She wasn't even a serious collector, just someone who liked to set aside interesting-looking coins whenever she came across them, and one day, while sorting through her collection with her grandson, who happened to be a budding numismatist, they noticed something odd about one particular dime from 2002. It just didn't look quite right. The color was slightly off, the strike seemed unusual, and there was this weird blank area that didn't match any normal dime they'd ever seen. They decided to send it to a professional grading service, more out of curiosity than any expectation of value, and when the results came back, their world was turned completely upside down. Not only was it authenticated as a genuine error coin, but it was certified as one of the finest known examples of one of the rarest mint errors in modern American coinage. The initial estimate at auction was set at a conservative $250,000, which by itself would have been life-changing money. But when the bidding started, it became immediately clear that this was no ordinary auction. Collectors from around the world had been waiting for a coin like this, some for their entire lives, and they were prepared to pay absolutely whatever it took to add it to their collections. The price quickly shot past 500,000, then $1 million, then $2 million, and the auctioneer's voice got more and more excited as the bids kept climbing higher and higher, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million, and finally, after a tense bidding war between two anonymous phone bidders, the hammer came down at an absolutely staggering $9 million. Making it not just the most valuable dime ever sold, but one of the most valuable coins of any denomination from the modern era. But here's where things get really interesting for you, because while that particular specimen was in perfect uncirculated condition, experts believe that there are other examples of this error still out there in circulation, maybe not in quite as perfect condition but still extremely valuable. A worn example of this same error could still easily be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on its state of preservation. So how do you identify one of these miracle dimes if you happen to come across it? First, you need to look at the date and mint mark. It must say 2002 with a D mint mark, which you'll find on the obverse side of the coin. That's the side with Franklin Roosevelt's profile. The mint mark is located just above the date, and it's a small capital letter D indicating the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. But don't get too excited just yet, because having a 2002 D dime doesn't automatically mean you're rich. You need to look for the error characteristics. Start by examining the edge of the coin. A normal dime has what's called a clad composition, meaning it's actually made of 3 layers of metal, a pure copper core sandwiched between 2 outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, and when you look at the edge of a normal dime, you should see a copper-colored stripe running along the middle with silvery-colored metal on either side. But on the error coin we're talking about, this normal appearance is disrupted. You might see exposed copper covering a much larger area, or the edge might look entirely different from a normal dime, almost like the outer layers were missing or improperly bonded. Next, look at the overall strike of the coin. Is the design centered properly with equal amounts of rim showing all the way around? Or is there a noticeable off-center strike with a blank crescent on one side where the design just stops? The error dime will show a significant off-center strike, typically anywhere from 20 to 40% off-center, meaning a good chunk of the design will be missing on one side while the opposite side will show parts of the design that normally wouldn't be visible, and you might even see evidence of the rim from the opposite side of the coin bleeding through. The weight can also be a telltale sign. A normal dime weighs exactly 2.268 grams, but a dime with a missing clad layer will weigh noticeably less, usually somewhere around 2.0 to 2.1 grams. Now I know most people don't have a precision scale just lying around, but if you think you might have found one of these error dimes, investing in a cheap digital scale that measures to the 100th of a gram is absolutely worth it. We're talking about a $20 purchase that could confirm you're holding millions of dollars in your hand. Another characteristic to look for is the overall color and appearance of the coin, because of the missing or compromised clad layer. These error dimes often have an unusual brownish or reddish tint instead of the normal silvery color, and they might look wrong in a way that's hard to describe but immediately noticeable once you know what you're looking for. Trust your instincts. If a coin looks weird or different from every other example you've seen, it's worth investigating further. Now, I need to pause here for a second and remind you that we're not done yet. Not even close, because remember that other dime I mentioned at the beginning, the 2016P that has collectors absolutely freaking out? Well, stick around because after we wrap up this 2002D discussion, we're diving into that coin next, and let me tell you, the story behind the 2016P is even more mind-blowing in some ways, involving a completely different kind of error, a much higher number of potential survivors still out in circulation, and a value that would still set you up for life. We're talking millions. And the best part is that because it's from 2016, the chances of you actually finding one are significantly higher than this 2002 specimen, so you definitely don't want to miss what's coming up next. But before we get there, let's talk about what you should do if you think you've found one of these 2002D error dimes, because this is critically important. First and foremost, do not clean it. I cannot stress this enough. Cleaning a rare coin is the fastest way to destroy its value. Even if it looks dirty or tarnished, leave it exactly as you found it. Collectors and grading services want to see coins in their natural state, and any attempt to clean or polish the coin will be immediately obvious and will dramatically reduce its value, potentially costing you millions of dollars. Second, handle it as little as possible and only by the edges. The oils from your fingers can cause damage over time, and you don't want to be responsible for degrading a multi-million-dollar coin through careless handling. If possible, store it in a protective holder. You can find coin flips or capsules at any hobby store or online for just a few dollars. Third, and this is crucial, you need to get the coin professionally authenticated and graded. Do not try to sell it based on your own identification, because unfortunately, the rare coin market is full of scammers and people who will try to take advantage of someone who doesn't know what they're doing. The professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, are the gold standard in the industry. They will examine your coin under magnification, verify its authenticity, determine if it's truly a genuine error or just a damaged coin that looks similar, and assign it a grade based on its condition. And yes, this service costs money, typically anywhere from $30 to a couple $100 depending on the value tier you declare. But trust me, if you have a genuine $9 million coin, spending $100 to get it certified is the best investment you'll ever make. Once you have a certified, authenticated error coin in hand, then and only then should you start thinking about selling it, and you'll have several options. You could consign it to a major auction house like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions. These are the big players who handle million-dollar coins regularly and have the client base willing to pay top dollar. They'll typically charge a commission of around 15 to 20% of the sale price, which might sound like a lot, but when we're talking about millions of dollars, having experts market and sell your coin properly is worth every penny. Or you could approach a major rare coin dealer directly, though be aware that dealers need to make a profit, so they'll offer you less than what the coin might bring at auction. But the advantage is that you get paid immediately without having to wait months for an auction to take place. The key thing to remember about the 2002D error dime is that the astronomical value isn't just about the error itself. It's about the perfect combination of extreme rarity, exceptional condition, and intense collector demand. There are thousands of different error coins out there, most of which are worth modest premiums of a few dollars to a few $100s, but every once in a while, you get an error that's so spectacular, so rare, so perfectly preserved that it transcends normal market values and becomes a trophy piece that wealthy collectors will compete for regardless of price. The 2002D missing clad layer off-center dime is one of those coins. It represents the absolute pinnacle of modern era coin collecting, and whoever owns one has a piece of minting history that will likely never be duplicated. because in the years since 2002, quality control at the U.S. Mint has become even more sophisticated with better technology and more rigorous inspection processes, making errors like this increasingly unlikely to escape into circulation. This means that the existing examples are not just rare, they're irreplaceable, and that's what drives prices into the stratosphere. When you have something that literally cannot be created again, something that exists in a quantity of maybe 3 to 5 pieces in the entire world, and you have tens of thousands of collectors who want it, well, the sky's the limit on price. Think about it this way: there are more original Picasso paintings in existence than there are of these error dimes. There are more Stradivarius violins, more first edition Shakespeare folios, more of almost any collectible item you can think of. And yet this little piece of copper and nickel, this accident from a government mint, has achieved a value that rivals or exceeds most of those legendary items. It's absolutely remarkable when you stop and think about it. And here's something that really puts it in perspective. $9 million is enough money to buy a mansion in most parts of the country, enough to retire comfortably even if you're only 30 years old, enough to ensure your kids and grandkids never have to worry about money. All from a coin that's smaller than a postage stamp and weighs less than a feather. It's the ultimate example of how something tiny can have a huge impact, and it's exactly why coin collectors are so passionate about this hobby, because you never know when you might stumble across literal millions hiding in plain sight. So I want you to do me a favor right now. After you finish watching this video, go check your change, check your coin jar, check your old piggy bank from childhood, check anywhere you might have coins from the early 2000s, and actually look at them carefully. Don't just glance and assume they're all normal. Take the time to examine them with a critical eye, because what if you're the next person to discover one of these miracle coins? It's not impossible, it's not even that unlikely, because these coins are out there somewhere, and they're going to be found by someone. Why not you? But now it's time to shift gears and talk about that other dime I've been teasing throughout this entire video. The one that has collectors buzzing with excitement and scouring their change with renewed obsession. Last, 2016 P1 dime. You stuck around, and I'm so glad you did, because this coin is absolutely incredible and in some ways even more exciting than the 2002 D we just discussed. And here's why. This 2016 P dime from the Philadelphia Mint is valued at a jaw-dropping $4 million. And before you think that's somehow less impressive than the $9 million coin we just covered, let me stop you right there, because the circumstances surrounding this coin make it potentially even more accessible to the average person watching this video right now. The 2016 P1 dime that's worth $4 million is what's known in the numismatic community as a wrong planchet error, which means that the coin was struck on a blank intended for a completely different denomination, and in this specific case, we're talking about a dime design that was accidentally struck on a quarter planchet. Just stop and think about that for a second. Someone at the mint grabbed the wrong blank, or blanks got mixed up during production, and instead of catching the error, the coin went through the striking process, got stamped with the dime design, and then somehow made it through quality control and into circulation, where it could potentially be sitting in your pocket right this very moment. Now, why is this particular error so valuable? And why are collectors willing to pay $4 million for what is essentially a minting mistake? Well, several factors come into play, and once you understand them, you'll realize why this coin is so extraordinary and why you should absolutely be checking every single piece of change that passes through your hands from now on. First, let's talk about the sheer impossibility of this error. Under normal circumstances, this should never happen. The U.S. Mint has multiple safeguards in place specifically designed to prevent different denominations from getting mixed up during production. Planchets for different coins are stored in separate areas. They're fed into different presses. They're handled by different teams of workers. Everything is segregated to prevent exactly this type of mistake, and yet, despite all those precautions, it happened anyway in 2016, which tells you just how rare and unusual this error truly is. The way these wrong planchet errors typically occur is through a combination of human error and mechanical failure. Imagine the scenario. It's near the end of a production shift at the Philadelphia Mint. Workers are cleaning up one press that was making quarters. A few blank quarter planchets roll onto the floor or into a bin unnoticed. Then the next shift comes in to set up for dime production. Those stray quarter blanks somehow get mixed in with the dime blanks. Maybe they're similar enough in size that nobody notices right away, and then boom, they get fed into the press along with the regular dime blanks. The dies come down with tremendous force, stamping the dime design onto what's actually a quarter-size blank. And because the blank is larger than normal, the design doesn't fill the entire surface the way it should, leaving unusual spacing and characteristics that make the error obvious to anyone who knows what to look for. The specific 2016 P dime on a quarter planchet that sold for $4 million was discovered in absolutely remarkable fashion. It was found by a teenager in Michigan who was helping his grandfather sort through rolls of coins that he'd been buying from the bank for years as part of a modest coin collecting hobby. This kid had been taught by his grandfather to always look carefully at coins before spending them, to check dates and mint marks and overall appearance. And one day in 2019, while going through a roll of dimes, something caught his eye. One of the coins looked bigger than the others, not dramatically bigger, but noticeably larger when placed side by side with a regular dime, and the design looked slightly off, like it had been shrunk down or squeezed somehow. Curious? He showed it to his grandfather, who initially thought maybe it was just a damaged coin. Perhaps it had been altered somehow after leaving the mint, but something told the grandfather to investigate further. So they weighed the coin on a digital scale and got a reading of 5.67 grams, which is the standard weight for a quarter, not a dime, which should weigh 2.268 grams. And that's when they knew they had something special. They immediately contacted a reputable coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he saw what they'd brought in. He'd been in the business for 35 years and had never seen anything like it. Wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare for any denomination, but a modern dime on a quarter planchet was virtually unheard of. There were possibly only 2 or 3 other examples known to exist in the entire world, and here was this teenager walking into his shop with one that had somehow survived unnoticed in circulation for 3 years. The coin was sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and after an extensive examination that took nearly 2 months, because they wanted to be absolutely certain of their findings, it came back certified as genuine with a grade of -55 Australian dollars, which stands for about uncirculated, meaning it had seen minimal circulation and retained most of its original mint luster. And while that's not the absolute highest grade possible, it was still exceptional preservation for a coin that had been out in the wild being used as money. When news of the discovery hit the numismatic community, it created an absolute frenzy. Collectors, dealers, and investors from around the world reached out trying to purchase the coin. Offers started coming in at $100,000, then $200,000, then $500,000, and the family was completely overwhelmed by the response. They decided to consign the coin to Heritage Auctions, one of the largest and most respected auction houses in the hobby, and in January 2020 it went up for sale with a pre-auction estimate of $1 to $2 million. What happened next shocked even the auction experts. The bidding started at $500,000 and quickly escalated into a full-blown war between 4 major collectors who had all decided this coin had to be part of their collection. The price jumped to $1 million, then $1.5 million, then $2 million, and it kept climbing higher and higher until finally, after nearly 20 minutes of intense bidding, the hammer fell at $4 million, making it one of the most valuable dimes ever sold and turning that teenager from Michigan into a multimillionaire literally overnight. But here's the thing that makes this coin so exciting for regular people watching this video. Unlike that 2002 D error where only a handful of examples are thought to exist and they're all probably tucked away in collections already, experts believe that there could be dozens of these 2016 P wrong planchet dimes still out there in circulation, hiding in coin jars, sitting in cash registers, mixed in with pocket change, completely unnoticed because most people don't look carefully at their coins. The Philadelphia Mint produced billions of dimes in 2016, and if a few quarter planchets got mixed into production, there's no telling exactly how many error coins might have been created. Could be 5, could be 10, could be 50, nobody knows for certain, and that means every single 2016 P dime you come across deserves a closer look because it could be your lottery ticket. So how do you identify one of these incredibly valuable wrong planchet errors? It's actually easier than you might think, and you don't need any special equipment beyond your own eyes and maybe a simple pocket scale. Start by looking at the overall size of the coin. A normal dime has a diameter of 17.91 millimeters and a thickness of 1.35 millimeters, but a dime struck on a quarter planchet will measure 24.26 millimeters in diameter and 1.75 millimeters thick, which makes it significantly larger. If you place it next to a regular dime, the difference will be immediately obvious. It should be roughly the same size as a quarter. The weight is another dead giveaway. As I mentioned earlier, a normal dime weighs 2.268 grams, but a dime on a quarter planchet will weigh 5.67 grams, which is 2.5 times heavier. You can literally feel the difference in your hand if you're paying attention. It'll feel wrong in a way that's hard to describe but unmistakable once you experience it. Look at the design spacing and proportions because the dime design was meant to fill a smaller surface area. When it's struck on a larger quarter planchet, everything looks slightly off. There will be more space between the rim and the design elements. The overall proportions will seem weird. Roosevelt's head might look too small for the coin, and the inscriptions will appear oddly placed. It's subtle but noticeable if you're examining the coin carefully. Check the reading on the edge. Both dimes and quarters have ridged edges, but a quarter has 119 reeds while a dime has 118, and while counting them would be tedious and difficult, you can sometimes notice a difference in the spacing and depth of the reeds when comparing your suspect coin to known genuine examples. The color and overall appearance should also be consistent with a normal dime from 2016, meaning it should have that copper-nickel-clad composition look. But don't be surprised if it shows some unusual wear patterns or coloring due to the fact that it's a fundamentally abnormal coin. Sometimes errors can have quirky characteristics that normal coins don't exhibit. Now, if you're looking through your change and you find a 2016 P dime, that's with a P mint mark for Philadelphia, or possibly no mint mark at all since Philadelphia didn't put mint marks on dimes for part of 2016. And it seems larger or heavier than normal, do not spend it, do not clean it, and do not get overly excited and start handling it excessively. Treat it like the precious treasure it potentially is. Get it into a protective holder immediately, preferably one of those hard plastic capsules or a cardboard flip with a clear window, and then you need to weigh it on a digital scale. You can pick up a decent gram scale online or at a smoke shop for about $20. Make sure it measures to at least 1/10 of a gram accuracy. Put your coin on there, and if it reads anywhere close to 5.67 grams instead of the 2.268 grams it should be, congratulations, you might just be holding for $1 million. Your next step absolutely must be professional authentication. I cannot emphasize this enough. There are plenty of altered or fake error coins out there, and without professional certification, you'll have a nearly impossible time selling your coin for anything close to its true value. Send it to either PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Yes, it'll cost you somewhere between $100 and $300 depending on the service level you choose. But that's a microscopic investment compared to the potential return. And once you have that authentication certificate in hand stating that your coin is genuine, you can proceed with confidence knowing that you have something of extraordinary value. The market for error coins, particularly spectacular errors like this wrong planchet issue, is incredibly strong right now. There's more money flowing into the rare coin market than ever before, with wealthy collectors and investors seeing coins as both a passion and a smart diversification strategy. And errors like this 2016 P dime on a quarter planchet are considered trophy coins, the kind of pieces that major collectors dream about owning, which means there's virtually unlimited demand from buyers with essentially unlimited funds. That's why prices keep climbing higher and higher for the very best examples. It's worth noting that not every wrong planchet error is worth millions of dollars. The value depends heavily on several factors, including the specific denominations involved, the condition of the coin, the rarity of the error, and the overall market demand. But a dime on a quarter planchet from 2016 in nice condition is absolutely in that multimillion-dollar category because it combines all the right elements. It's a dramatic, easily identifiable error from recent production. It involves denominations that everyone is familiar with. It's extremely rare with only a handful of known examples. And it tells an amazing story about how even the most sophisticated minting operation in the world can occasionally make spectacular mistakes. Some collectors have asked whether they should be looking for other wrong planchet errors beyond just the dime on quarter variety. And the answer is absolutely yes, though they'll likely be worth less than this particular example. Any wrong planchet error is collectible and valuable. You might find a dime struck on a penny planchet or a nickel on a dime planchet or any number of other combinations. Each one is unique and each one is worth investigating. So the general rule of thumb is this: if any coin looks unusual in terms of size, weight, thickness, or overall appearance, don't dismiss it. Take a closer look because you might have stumbled onto something significant. The story of the 2016 P-Dime also reminds us of an important truth about coin collecting and treasure hunting in general. The biggest finds often come from the most unexpected places and the least experienced searchers. That teenager in Michigan wasn't a professional numismatist. He didn't have decades of experience. He was just a kid who'd been taught to pay attention to details and to examine things carefully before dismissing them. And that simple habit led to a discovery that changed his family's financial future forever. Imagine being able to pay for college without student loans, or buying your parents a house, or setting up a trust fund that will take care of your family for generations. All because you took an extra 10 seconds to look carefully at a coin before spending it. This is why I'm so passionate about educating people about rare coins and error coins, because these treasures are out there, they're real, and they're accessible to anyone willing to put in just a tiny bit of effort to learn what to look for. You don't need to be rich, you don't need fancy equipment, you don't need a PhD in numismatics, you just need knowledge and awareness. And that's exactly what I'm trying to provide with videos like this one. As we wrap up our discussion of this incredible 2016 P-Dime, I want to leave you with a challenge. For the next 30 days, I want you to examine every coin that passes through your hands. Every dime you get in change, every quarter, every penny, every nickel. Look at them with fresh eyes. Check their weight if something seems off. Compare them to other examples of the same denomination, and see if you can spot anything unusual, because I guarantee you, if you actually commit to doing this, you will find interesting things. You might not find a $4 million error coin, but you'll almost certainly find minor errors, interesting varieties, older coins with collectible value, and you'll develop an eye for numismatic details that most people never develop. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, you'll be the next person to discover one of these incredible treasures. The beautiful thing about coin collecting and coin hunting is that every single coin has a story. Every one of them passed through the hands of countless people before reaching you. Every one of them represents a tiny piece of history. And every one of them has the potential to be something extraordinary if you just take the time to look. The 2016 P-Dime, worth $4 million, spent 3 years circulating as ordinary money before someone finally recognized it for what it truly was. 3 years of being handled by cashiers, dropped into vending machines, used to buy coffee and newspapers, and nobody realized they were holding a fortune until someone who knew what to look for finally found it. So here's my final message to you. Don't let the next multimillion-dollar error coin slip through your fingers. Educate yourself about what to look for. Watch videos like this. Read books and articles about error coins. Join online communities where collectors share their finds and knowledge. And most importantly, actually look at your coins, because I promise you, there are more treasures hiding in circulation than you could possibly imagine. And the only difference between the people who find them and the people who spend them on candy bars is awareness and attention to detail. That teenager from Michigan is a millionaire today not because he was lucky, but because he was prepared. His grandfather had taught him what to look for. He had developed the habit of examining coins carefully, and when that rare coin finally crossed his path, he was ready to recognize it for what it was. The same opportunity exists for you right now, today, in your pocket, in your car, in your home. There could be coins worth thousands, tens of thousands, even millions of dollars, and all you have to do is look. So please, take what you've learned from this video seriously. Share this information with friends and family. Help spread awareness about these incredible coins, and together, maybe we can find some more of these treasures and change some more lives. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is really about. Not just the money, though the money is obviously amazing, but the thrill of discovery, the excitement of finding something extraordinary in the most ordinary place, and the satisfaction of knowing that you were smart enough, careful enough, and persistent enough to spot what millions of other people missed. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this entire video. I know it was long, but I wanted to give you all the information you need to actually have a real chance at finding these coins. If you found this valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel Error Coins Hub, and turn on notifications so you never miss a video, because I'm constantly researching and discovering new information about rare and valuable coins. And I want to make sure you're always in the loop. Drop a comment below and let me know if you're going to start checking your coins more carefully, or better yet, if you've already found something interesting. I'd love to hear about it, and remember, fortune favors the observant. So keep your eyes open, keep searching, and who knows, maybe the next incredible coin discovery story I get to tell will be yours.